Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back into the video today, and today I'm going to be predicting what the top 25 in college football will look like after week 1 of college football and going into week 2. We're going to be predicting what the top 25 will look like going into week 2, as there will be a little bit of changes, not a lot. After you only saw a couple top 25 teams lose. The only teams that lost in the top 25 in week 1 were number 5 LSU, number 9 Clemson, and number 17 TCU. I think the only team out of the teams that, in my predictions, I think the only teams, in my opinion, that will, that out of the top 25 that lost, out of the 3 teams, the only one that I think will drop out of the top 25 is TCU, because they were a little bit closer to the end at 17. But let's get into my predictions for what I think the top 25 will look like when the new top 25 will be released tomorrow around 5 o'clock, around 4, 5 o'clock. All right, we're gonna go from 25 to actually no, we're gonna start with we're gonna start from 1 and then go down the list to 25. So at 1, I think it's obvious it's gonna be the Georgia Bulldogs, defending champions. They had a great week against UT Martin. I don't think there's no reason for them to move at all. At 2, even though Michigan, was okay, only winning by 27. I can't remember who they played. They played East Michigan. Yeah, they played East Michigan, and they only won by 27, which that's a good win. But I feel like that's a game that probably Michigan should win by more. Even though Michigan struggled a little bit, I think Michigan will probably still stay at that number 2 spot. And then I have Alabama and USC. Alabama and Ohio State switching spots. I have Alabama jumping up to the 3. They were the 4. They were the number 4 team in the country to start week 1. I think they played a good enough game, and Ohio State struggled to the point where I believe that you will see you will see Alabama jump in to the top 3, and they had a great week. They won 56-7. I can't remember who they played. I think they played Middle Tennessee, and Ohio State played Indiana. They only won by 20, while Alabama won by 49. So Alabama had a great week, while Ohio State struggled through a couple interceptions. So I think Alabama definitely deserves to be at that 3 spot instead of Ohio State. Then it took me a little bit to decide who I thought was best to put at 4. Should it be Ohio State, who struggled against Indiana, or should it be Florida State, who beat number 5 LSU? They were Florida State before was ranked 8th in the country, and they even though it was at home, beat LSU, the number 5th team in the country, by 21 points at home. Outscored them in the second half 31-7. Was that enough for them to get in the top 4? Honestly, I didn't think so. I think they take a pretty much of a fair jump, but I think Ohio State, they're already falling enough. I don't think they fall the way down to 5. I think you're just going to see a swap between Alabama and Ohio State. But then at 5, I have Florida State. Like I said, a great upset against LSU. I'm not going to say I was surprised by the upset. I wasn't surprised about Florida State winning the ball game, but I was surprised about how much Florida State won the ball game. If you would have told me Florida State would have won the game, I would have said, okay, that's beforehand. You would have told me Florida State was going to win, I would say, yeah, definitely possible, and it very well could happen. You would have told me Florida State's going to win by 21, I would say, no, they're not going to win by 21. They might win, but not by that much. And Florida State had a great game. I think they deserve to be in the top 5. I know it was not in the top 4, but I think they deserve to be in the top 5. And it's only week 2, for God's sakes. I mean, you want to get as far as you can, but I think as of right now, you're in the top 5. Going from last week, you were at the 8th spot. Then at 6, I have USC staying at the same spot. I mean, they played so well to start the season. But you've had teams like Florida State and Alabama who deserve to jump into the top 3 and top 4. It's hard for USC to move at all. I think they stay at 6 after a really good win on Saturday. Then at 7, I have Penn State staying exactly where they were. Had a good win last week against West Virginia. I think they played a great game, but I think Penn State, I don't see them moving down. I don't see them moving up. At 8, I have Washington. This was moving up quite a bit. They were at 10, with some losses in the top, the top 10 with Clemson. And with both Clemson and LSU losing, I think Washington will move up a couple spots. And they had a great win against Boise State, 56-19 last week. Showed some really good things. I think they deserve to jump up 2 spots. Then at 9, taking a big jump, I have Notre Dame jumping from 13-9 after a really good win. I can't remember who they played, but they beat the crap out of whoever they played. And I have Notre Dame jumping from 13-9. Their quarterback, Sam Hartman, has looked great to start the season. And Notre Dame's been great to start this season in their first 2 games. I know it was week 1, but they did play in week 0 on that Saturday. So they won. They played Navy in Ireland, and then whoever they played this weekend, they beat them too. Their quarterback, Sam Hartman's looked really good. I really like what I saw from them in that Navy game. Didn't watch their game this Saturday, but I know they did win pretty good. It's a really good win for Notre Dame this past week. And then at 10, I have my favorite team, the Texas Longhorns, at 10. I think Texas, this is a jump up. They were at 11 last week. The one spot with teams like LSU and Clemson who lost, you would think maybe Texas could jump up to 9. But I think with teams like Washington and Notre Dame, who have been better than Texas this week, I think they deserve to be ahead of Texas. I mean, Texas could have definitely been at that 9 or 8th team in the country if they would have played a better game at Rice. They only won by 27 against Rice. They won 37-10. Only scored 16 points in the first half. I thought Texas should have been better against Rice, and then it's probably one of the reasons why they won't move up that much. And you will see both Washington and Notre Dame pass them in the rankings. I mean, Washington was already ahead of them. Washington was at 10, and we were at 11. And Notre Dame was at 13, and we were at 11. So you would see Notre Dame pass Texas if Notre Dame goes to 9, which I do think they will. Then at 11, I have LSU, who lost to Florida State. They were the number 5. This is going down 6 spots. I think if this was a closer ball game, they would have not fell this far down. But because they lost by 21 and at one point they were down 28, I think they will fall down 6 or 7 spots, maybe even 8. And I think LSU at 11 is probably the fair. That's probably going to be where they fall down to, maybe possibly 12. But at 12, I have Tennessee falling down. Or I think Tennessee, they were already at 12. I think that's where they were last week. But I have Tennessee being at 12. And then at 13, I have Oregon at 13 after they beat somebody 81-7. Whoever they played, they weren't good, but they beat them 80. They scored 81 points last week. Had a great week. And then at 14, I have Utah, who week 1, they only won by 13 against Florida, but were without their quarterback, Cameron Rising. But I think Utah will be at 14. Last week, they were at 14. They were at 14 to start the week last week. And then at 15, I have Kansas State. I can't remember who they played as well, but they won 45-0. And at 16, I have Oregon State winning. DJ Ungabalowe, quarterback from Clemson, who transferred, had a great debut for Oregon State, and I think they'll stay in the same spot. And then at 17, I have North Carolina climbing 4 spots to be the 17th team in the country. And then at 18, I have Oklahoma jumping up 2 spots from 20, and they had a great week as well, scoring, I think they scored 71 points. It was 70-something. I think they scored 75. Whoever they played, they scored 75 points. I can't remember who they played as well. There was a lot of bad matchups. Some bad teams, ranked teams, were playing a lot of bad teams this week. And then at 20, after the huge upset, I have Colorado being at 20. Colorado and Deion Sanders and Shadar Sanders and Travis Hunter pulled off an unbelievable win against the team that was in the national championship last year, the TCU Horned Frogs. And honestly, I would have thought that Colorado would have either been ranked 21 or 22, but after this terrible Clemson loss, I think Colorado will be either 21 or 20. in tomorrow's college football rankings. They had an unbelievable game. Not to mention that game was in Fort Worth as well. Loud TCU crowd. Not only that, but I think another thing is to consider here, and this is from a person that lives in Texas. This is a person that lives in Houston, Texas, for crying out loud. I've dealt with one of the worst heat of all time with Houston. And as a person that lives in Texas, I will tell you, for a Colorado team that is probably not used to playing in the heat, because it's not like it's always cold in Colorado, but you don't see it get very hot in Colorado. So they're used to playing, if not in the cold, in decent weather, and for it to be in the mid 90s, a little bit of the high 90s, playing that weather when TCU's kind of used to it, I feel like that was a really good advantage of TCU, not only having home field advantage, but also the weather with the heat. And that's something that Colorado was really not used to. And I think they played not only a great game, but due to the circumstances, being on the road, this is, a new thing for a lot of these guys. This is, there's no, these were all new players to Colorado. Deion took everybody out, brought all new players in, took out 70 players, brought in 86, and built a great team, might I add. But I really liked what we saw from Colorado. And I think the biggest thing when getting them into the top 25 is, where do you put them? Because this is a team that I think a lot of, the coaches in the poll, the coaches, whoever are doing the poll to start the season, I think a lot of the mindset's going to be is that this team went 1-11 last season. And to me, this is a new roster. Who cares what the team did last year? It's a new coach. There are no players on the roster from last year's Colorado team when they went 1-11. None of the players that played on that team are still on the team. So this is a brand new team that just has the same name. So here's how I feel about it. Colorado deserves to be in the top 25, and I do believe they deserve to be in the top 20. And I think they should be at the 20 spot. At 21, I have Ole Miss. They had a really good week as well, with a big win. And then at 22, I have Texas A&M, who beat New Mexico State 53-10, I believe was the final score. They had a really good game, and I have them at 22. And then at 23, I have Duke, who just won about an hour ago against number 9 Clemson, upsetting them 28-7. What a game for Duke. They were non-ranked before. This is going to be the second team that was non-ranked to get in, along with Duke and Colorado, to be the new teams in the top 25. And that means Iowa and TCU are the teams to drop out of the top 25. But Duke definitely deserves to be in the top 25. Because I'll tell you this, Clemson will not drop out of the top 25. And if Clemson's going to stay in the top 25, Duke deserves to be in it. And Duke deserves to be Duke deserves to be ahead of Clemson. And at 24, I think you have a good idea who 24 is going to be. And that's going to be the team that Duke beat tonight, and that is Clemson at 24. And at 25, I have Tulane, who won against, they played South Alabama and beat the crap out of South Alabama. It was 31-17 was the final score. But yeah, so I'm going to go over it really fast. 1 Georgia, 2 Michigan, 3 Alabama, 4 USC. Not 4 USC, 4 Ohio State, 5 Florida State, 6 USC, 7 Penn State, 8 Washington, 9 Notre Dame, 10 Texas, 11 LSU, 12 Tennessee, 13 Oregon, 14 Utah, 15 Kansas State, 16 Oregon State, 17 North Carolina, 18 Oklahoma, 19 Wisconsin, 20 Colorado, 21 Ole Miss, 22 Texas A&M, 23 Duke, 24 Clemson, and 25 Tulane. You guys let me know your thoughts on my Week 2 college football rankings predictions, and let me know what you think the top 20 AP Top 25 will look like tomorrow going into Week 2 of the 2023 college football season. That's it for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and peace out.